So I'm joined by Havi Green. He's a poet, fiction writer, community catalyst, musician, and style icon, obviously. And Javi, I met you for the first time in 2021. It was at Art Basel, and it was the first time I had publicly displayed my art, and I was nervous as hell. And you came up, you were dressed in all black, you had really dark shades on. I thought you were so cool. And you came up and looked at a series of my paintings, which was a lottery ticket with glitter on it.
Wait, did I say that's a good idea?
You did.
Oh shit!
I remember.
no, guys, no. He
This
just
is take
told
two.
me. This is take two.
Yeah.
So go ahead and tell the story. I'm sorry.
You were smiling and you said, "That's a really good idea."
Yeah.
And in that moment, I was like, "Well, I've made it." You know, that really inspired me and motivated me. So I had to have you on the show.
Yeah.
So thanks for joining.
Yeah. I guess like being an artist, and let alone an artist with a little bit of oomph to him, it's almost like being a planet in the universe, and you can send out radio signals for forever and not get anything back. So it's nice when you cross paths to make sure wave a signal. So that's what I was doing there, and I'm glad that stuck. It had an effect, but most importantly, like, we're circling back right now. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, I'll never forget that. It like made a huge difference. So with all those mediums I listed, how would you describe your creative practice? How do you balance those mediums?
First and foremost, I think that I really don't try to have to make an effort to balance art. Like the art, everything else gets balanced around the art for the most part.
Yeah.
And also, as I live and evolve, the medium usually evolves with me, and I just take it as it comes. If something has to get dropped, it just drops a little bit, and I hope it'll come back around. But if it doesn't, I have my time with it. And then from like a day to day, like, it's just certain like formulas that lead to certain modes of expression. Like if I'm like kind of going through it emotionally, and then I drink, I have a good night out, I dance or something. If I wake up hungover, I am going to write a good poem. Like immediately after I'm going to be my most emotional state, a poem is going to come out. Yeah. So I don't have to balance that. It just happens,
Yeah, I've definitely written some bangers in a depressive spell. It just comes out.
Yeah.
And it's hard to write about happiness sometimes.
It's not depressive for me so much as it's like fragile. I feel like I'm just cracked open.
Yeah. Vulnerable.
Yeah. Very vulnerable.
Yeah.
Very vulnerable. I'm a sensitive boy.
Yeah. I think that's why like we connected. Like I consider myself pretty sensitive too. And also like you with these mediums coming in and out.
Yeah.
Like I do visual art, writing, and music. And like right now, visual art's taking kind of like the back burner, and my music is what I want to focus on.
Nice.
So with you, what is your current focus?
I'm sorry. I'm such a lover of artists. Yeah. Can I also ask you questions a little bit?
Of course. Yeah, I would love that.
First and foremost, what's the you're in a band right now, or
it's just me, single project? Act.
Okay, what's the name of it?
Just my name, Zach Osborne. Okay, that's all I got.
Nice. That's all I got.
I got good SEO on Google, so so I'm just gonna keep that.
Nice, Mr. Marketing. But the question was, again, for me, what's the question?
The question is, what is your current medium you're focusing on right now?
I'm writing my first novel. You said writer, and I want to stop you like, Mr. Fledgling writer. Don't like it, this art form right now feels like the toughest to crack as far as like wearing the badge and being able to pull it out like, hey, I'm a writer. Is taking a while. So I've been working really hard on that for a few years now, man. Like,
I remember when you first posted about it, I was like, that's gonna be amazing.
I've been writing a few. Yeah. It's coming along well. I think I'm on like the sixth draft, and it feels like I found my voice. during this last go round, and I think that I finally got it. I think once I finish, it'll be where I could hand it off and be satisfied with it, where whatever happens. So,
what do you think led to you like finding your voice finally after all these drafts?
Man, so many things. The repetition of making drafts. A lot of writers tell you when you write it, one of the most important things you can do is read it out loud. But I never did that. I was like, fuck that. I'm not
Yeah,
reading
that takes
it out
a lot
loud.
of energy.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm not reading this shit. But I do already have a nice like inner voice from like being a rapper for so long.
Oh, yeah.
Like, and just hearing what things sound like in my head. So I'm really good with rhythm in that way. So I finally started to catch the rhythm a little bit more. But I had also put it down for a while and listened to a shit ton of audiobooks.
Yeah.
And just listening to other really good novels being read out loud. And then when I finally went back to it, someone had just said something that inspired me to just crack it open. I wasn't even going to really touch it.
Yeah.
I was just like, let me just see. And then as soon as I started reading, I was like, actually, I need to move that. And then before I knew it, I was like, oh, shit, like, all my bravado, all my daring, all my clarity, everything was there. And I was like, this is it. It's saying exactly what I wanted to, not only story-wise, but me as the writer is coming through without seeming like I'm just taking up too much space.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I love that process. And I want to get more into like what the story's about, but you were talking about audiobooks. What are some really good audiobooks that you listen to?
Oh, man. You know, one thing about me, I'm so quick to forget. Like, I love to like ingest art and then be like, it's a piece of me. I never have
somehow
to think of it.
it's like in your subconscious.
Like I don't have a Goodreads. I don't have like a letterbox or any of that.
Yeah.
I'm just like old school. Like get in there and just disseminate.
Yeah.
So I can't think of like most of them off the top of my head. So the ones I name are gonna be the ones that stick with me or just pop up. But I, in no regards, claim that these are the best of all time.
Right.
However, Moby Dick.
Oh, I need to read that.
Moby Dick is like one of the most American books I've ever read.
Yeah.
Being that it is a fucking con of a book. Because the goddamn whale don't... Should I be cursing on here?
You can cuss.
Okay.
Yeah.
Goddamn whale.
Please do.
That goddamn Moby Dick... And I mean dick in both ways.
Oh my God.
That Dick Moby Dick don't show up until the last 2 pages. And you
just
read
edging the whole time.
Yes, you're just getting edged the entire time, man. Like you go through whole like cetology, which is like the study of whales, just like, oh yeah, and they have 5 bones in their fins, and you learn all this shit about whales, and then it show up, wreck some shit, and then it's like, and then we never saw it again. And you're like, whoa.
So he's like gone into Flash.
Very. I'm like, it's such an American book.
That
like,
sounds about right.
Pull the rug from under your ass. So yeah, but it's still a good book. I loved it. And it got that pirates, just like we were just talking about who's this William Blake. And like Dante Milton. And got that like really epic biblical. I love biblical illusions.
Yeah.
And it still a good book from under your ass. So but it got that pirates just like we were just talking about who's this
William
Blake
Yeah.
and like Dante Milton. It got that like really epic biblical
I love biblical illusions.
legendary type shit going on. And then it's like the story of like America just when we start to find out shit and like industrial age, and we were starting to send out, like we needed all this whale oil. So, you know, we were hunting whales by the fucking ton.
Yeah.
And it's just like he's asking so many like interesting questions, you know, underneath this story that's about like this fucking whale. And I love stories that, you know, really got more than one thing going on. They
Yeah, where you
fool
can
the
learn.
masses. Yeah, but also fool the masses. Like, no, this is whales. Yeah.
Right.
Oh, and then underneath was like, no, this was slavery.
yeah. This whole time it was slavery. Yeah.
The whale was slavery the whole time.
With your current, like with your novel, what are there any things that any underlying themes that you have that you're exploring?
Yeah, man. Damn, where do you start with your first novel? You know, they say the first it takes your whole life to write your first novel.
Mm-hmm.
So, and they say that for a reason, because when you sit down, and especially if you didn't like really like nerd out and plan it to the T, then everything just comes out of you. You try to make sense of it, and there's a thread of a story, but there's just so much. But with that being said, as a black man in America, I am trying to walk in the footsteps of such great writers who happen to be black, but also, writers in general. But because I am black, I'm walking in their footsteps first and foremost.
Yeah.
And I can relate and I can see their story so clearly because it's so my story. As much as I might relate to like Ernest Hemingway and whoever the fuck wrote Moby Dick. I can't even remember.
Herman Melville.
Herman Melville.
I don't know how I just remember
yeah,
that.
thank you for pulling that
No
out.
problem.
Your blowhole. No,
Not my blowhole.
Herman Melville. Yeah, like I can relate because I got crazy empathy. But I don't really need that to relate to Toni Morrison or Invisible Man, Ralph Ellison. I just got to be black and have, a writer's intuition about things.
Yeah.
So I feel like I'm trying to take the next step where they and others have left off in that as far as black consciousness and what it means to be black in America. But I'm also trying to figure out what to do with my Americanness,
That's hard to unpack.
Yeah, especially
it's very
as a
complex.
black man, you know. I think everyone does, but as a black man, it almost feels like fucking like how to be a Sith Lord or how to like the Sith Lords when you're a Jedi. It's just like it don't even feel right, But I know that it needs to be done, and I love a good challenge. So I'm trying to figure that out. And I know so many friends who, the more conscious we get, the more we're wrestling with what it means to be American. Like we don't even want to say it, but and yet we are so much, American. So how do we figure that out?
Exactly. And you were talking about consciousness, which I think is a great segue to talk about your love of mysticism. I love mysticism. It's a big inspiration for my artwork and my writing and poetry.
Who said I loved it? I'm stuck with it, man.
Yeah, I did a little research. Yeah. So how does mysticism translate into your creative practice?
Man, I am mysticism, man.
Yeah, you have an aura about you.
Yeah,
like when I first saw you, I was like, this guy knows something. There's like a glow about you, and like us just talking now, I feel so comfortable, and like there's got to be some training behind that. Like you like, did you learn that through mysticism?
I went to the Himalayas.
Yeah, you took ayahuasca.
Album. No, first and foremost, another thing. This is also going to tie back into the book.
Perfect.
Another theme from the book is how the artistic journey is the human journey, which is the spiritual journey. And
chills.
Yeah, there's this Zen saying that says like you can learn all that there is to know about the universe through your art form, or through something that's even more trivial. If you really want to get down to the nitty gritty, but it's easier with your art form, especially in this day and age. And I've taken my artistic journey really seriously. Everything else,
I can tell.
Yeah, everything else is, superfluous.
Yes.
That's my North Star. So that being said, it's taught me a lot. And it's taught me how to be human. It's taught me how to be more human than human, as my boy Nietzsche would say. So it's led me through philosophy and Zen and Christianity and whatever.
Astrology.
No, not astrology. Fuck astrology.
Yeah, you're not astrology. Okay, noted.
Zoroastrianism is what I meant.
I'll have to look that up.
Sufism. Like all these, I've traced this path of how the art and creativity naturally comes if you are spiritually aligned.
Exactly.
And, I've just honed that. I've honed it to a certain point. So, yeah, man, I'm very Zen these days. I used to meditate more so now I'm just meditation, Yeah, so
I was going to ask about that.
Wave, baby.
Yeah, so when you're trying to get inspiration, what does that process look like? How do you kind of fuel your action, your creative action?
Like I said, I've been doing this for a long time. I don't have too many rules these days as far as like the formula.
Yeah.
I'm never not inspired. I would say that.
That sounds very zen.
Yeah. I think what I will say though is that there's another Zen saying. I'll drop Zen sayings all day.
Please
but
do.
It's like the last level of your art form is when you carry something for so long, you carry your art form for so long, you carry it with you. The last level is when you finally drop it. You know, you just drop that. Because by the time you do that, you're dropping all the rules, all these things that, you know, the formulas, your go-tos. You just embody it. You know, you know, the well is, you used to have to go to the well, but now you are the well. You know, so the source is here. If I sit down and I write, then you know, I just do it. And you learn it a lot with writing, though. Like, writers are really good at telling you, like, motherfucker, inspiration. The muse is going to be out the room sometimes, you know, and you still going to have to get it done, you know? So stop waiting on that. You just do it anyway. Yeah. So whether you want to, you know, be a dick like the writers about it, or, you know, a woohoo like the mystics about it, you just go about it and understand that if you, I saw this Rick Rubin quote like maybe yesterday or the day before on Instagram. It was like, the better you feel, the better things go. So I feel great.
Yeah, I can tell. Like,
yeah, I feel great. So the art usually, you know, is art and over here.
It comes with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's nothing like getting an idea and feeling that energy to like actually make it and love it and like forget to eat, you know, like that's
forgetting to eating is one of my favorite things.
I know, but sometimes I'm like so focused that, and I get so like keyed up that I finally had this idea, and like I want to get to a place where you're talking about this, like I am the whale. Like that's such a great mindset to think about.
I think with our like culture, how our culture is and how we understand production and manufacturing, we think we're like excavating all these things from somewhere else and we're bringing it in, we're manufacturing it in the body and the mind that is us, and then we produce it, you know. But it's more so like you're the everything. You're connected. It might synthesize through you or like flow through you, but like it's already there. You just like kind of allowing those connections to be made inside of you. Yeah. You know, so just saving the space for it usually just helps it happen. You know?
I love that.
Yeah.
Are there so you seem, or I've noticed that you're pretty put together.
You mean my fit?
You're
see
fit,
this coat? Like,
you're fit. You always look healthy.
Yeah.
What how do you kind of maintain consistency with health? Because I know health is a huge part of what fuels my creativity.
Yeah, but what does consistent health mean? You know, like I think that no one plans to be unhealthy.
You're right.
You know, it happens, you know, because life is long, things happen, or, you know, things get out of your control. So I think that I'm just gifted with the genes of my slavery ancestors, you know, that I can still be, you know, 35 and still have, you know, a pretty good shape. Yeah. And, you know, I work with that. But I'm also super conscious of, like, I don't have to have a diet or anything or, you know, think about it. I'm just aware, like, I think my body needs some greens or, you know, like.
You're very in tune with your body.
Won't be so bad. And, you know, I might 4 days out of 7 might not eat breakfast because I just feel like, you know, I don't need breakfast right now.
Yeah, so, you're fasting.
Yeah. I'm fasting. Yeah. So, but I've also had my setbacks because I am human. I remember a couple years ago, I like tore my Achilles on like a all expense paid trip to Miami at Art Basel, like the first day. The first thing I did, I went to like this legendary street taco place at like they were slinging tacos like 9 in the morning.
Yeah.
I got like 4 of them motherfuckers and
Nice.
threw them back. Went to the Airbnb. My homies were playing basketball, and I started playing basketball in like some fucking Yoji Yamamoto, and instantly ripped my shit. Immediately when that happened, it felt like one of the biggest tests I've had, because it was like, all right, you can either like get really sad right now, or like you can start to listen even closer to, you know, be to the humor behind all of this and the lesson behind all of this. And I got like really deep into it because first and foremost, I had to navigate fucking Art Basel on one leg.
Yeah, I can't even imagine.
Yeah. It was cool though, man. It was a great experience.
What how did you get to go to that? What was it about? What was that process like?
Man, I think I've always been planting seeds, especially around Midtown. Telling people that I like their, you know, their art.
That's
and
a good
just walking
idea.
away.
Yeah.
And then it coming back to me. And something like that happened. Some friends of mine were going to Art Basel to sling some art.
Yeah.
And they were like taking a group of people, and they were I really was not about to go because I was like, why do you want me? You know, I could be, you know, working on my novel or, you know, working my job. And they was just like, we just want you there. We want your energy there. And at the last minute, after, you know, asking a bunch of people, I was like, all right, I'm going to go.
Yeah.
And broke my leg.
Miami's
but it was
amazing.
worth it.
Yeah.
Worth it. Yeah, man.
I bet you did you get any creative energy from that?
Yeah, man. I actually went down I think the second day after I finally got like a cane and wrapped my shit up and a bunch of ibuprofen. I rented a car and I went down to Key West and I visited Ernest Hemingway's mansion down there.
Yeah.
He spent a lot of time in Key West, and he's like one of my idols. So it was like a pilgrimage for me, man. I'm already like limping and going through this trial and tribulation moment, and then I take this 2-hour drive to Key West, and I get to walk through, you know, his house, and they got a really good tour there, and they got a bunch of 4-toed cats.
Really?
Yeah, he was gifted, I think 1 or 2 4-toed cats from a sailor. You know, he got like a million bajillion fucking stories about him, man. So one of them is he was gifted some 4-toed cats, and now it's like a cat sanctuary, a 4-toed cat sanctuary.
That sounds like heaven.
It is. It's so amazing, man. It's like,
are you a cat person?
I am a cat person. I'm a cat and a dog person.
Yeah,
I'm a very balanced guy.
There you go. That makes sense.
Yeah. But I really enjoyed that, man, and I've dreamed about like, man, I could, you know, live down here. I can see why he spent time down here. It's a great place to write. Yeah, I would love to write down there one day. So
yeah, and speaking of writing, I know you're starting a writing group. I saw calls for submission go out.
Yeah.
What made you want to start a writing group?
Who said I wanted to start it, man? It's just, it feels like a natural progression. I'm like one of the most curmudgeonly motherfuckers out here, man. Meaning that I'm gonna do the work, but it's at the same time I'm gonna be a little bit of a grumpy uncle about it a little bit. Like, I'm working right now with a friend of mine. I started a writer's workshop.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Not too long ago, because anytime I get really deep into my art, of course, the question of how do I bring this into the realm of community, you know, is a question that naturally just pops up. Yep. I'm rapping. I'm like, I need to get a studio and have a bunch of motherfuckers.
Studio 88.
Yeah. I need to have a posse, you know. If I'm writing a novel, it's like, I need to have, you know, this.
I'm the same way.
Yeah. So the workshop ended up, you know, running this course. And now that I'm close to finishing the novel, me and my friend, Kyla, she'll get mad if I don't say her name.
Yeah.
Me and Kyla.
Yeah, shout her out. What's her Instagram?
Kyla, I'm not gonna shout her Instagram. She's a little private.
Okay, so that's fair.
Then she's just gonna bite my head off on that way. So shout out to Kyla. Kyla Dump Truck Booty.
That's her official author name. Yeah.
At Instagram. Yeah. Follow her. Now I just leaked your secret.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Everybody's gonna follow her now.
Yeah, yep. But no, she has a really nice place that she's moved into, and we've been dreaming about, starting. It's really just been me and her like tagging into each other work, and now we're like, man, we need a few more people to come along. Super intense. Like, I think I'm ready for like the harshest critique.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I'm going to get it yet, but I got to do the work and build a network myself to try to bring it to me, to make it, try to find me, because I'm ready to really like see blood on the page. So
yes, I love that.
And that's the kind of thing that, she's like super excited about, like, oh, we can like, have a photo shoot. I'm like, no, I just want to be just, we are starting a writers group. This is what it's going to be. If you think this is you, email your best work. I just want to look.
I liked how easy it was, I can't wait to see what comes out of that group.
It's gonna be nice. I think it's gonna be I also don't put any expectations on it, just because the more serious you are about your art, the more you know that you gotta be loosey goosey about it.
Yeah, you can't be too precious.
Yeah. It's the only thing that I tell people all the time, man. The only thing I take serious is the art, and it allows me not to take anything else fucking serious. So
I love that. Yeah. That's a great mindset.
Yeah.
I like to ask this of artists I meet, but if you had all the resources in the world, what would be your dream project?
Man, I'm about to drop another wise words. Javi's wise words. No, Javi's homonyms. No,
I like that. I'd read that.
No, Javi's hummers.
That's better. That's more on brand, I feel like. Yeah.
No, great artists, or even good artists, capital A artists, do what they can with what they got, wherever they're at. So, and I think that's also really in tune with the Black struggle. We turn fucking cow intestines into chitlins. You know what I mean? So, I don't dream that way about art. I'm always just so into where I am that I can't imagine. Like, the only thing that I'll be doing differently, I guess I might be writing a book in Key West now. With
the cat sanctuary.
Yeah. So I think maybe that I do dream about having almost like a commune in a sense, where more artists here in Memphis, more artists like us can, crash out.
Yeah, that's the dream.
Do what we want, and grow some food. Have our little polycules, cat fighting and shit.
Yeah,
and, just
that's where the
happen, man. So I think that is kind of answering, I think, the question of our time is how do we be revolutionary as Americans, in our time. And I think what we really want is to produce things that don't feed into the machine. That don't feed into the violence that is the big machine. How do we stay away from those teeth? How do we stay away from, supplying it with the energy that it needs? So, the closer and the more of an adult I get, the closer I get to fulfilling that dream. And I'm doing it, So I don't really.
You are the well.
Yeah, man. The more means I have, the more I'll be able to do it. So. Yeah. Donate to my Cash App. Where's the camera?
Right,
donate to my Cash App.
What's your Cash App?
Javi dump truck ass 69
$1 million just dropped.
No, man. I'm not looking for no handouts, but if you,
it doesn't hurt.
Yeah. I don't even know my Cash App. I don't think I've ever, really opened it up to like donations. Again, I just do what I can with what I got wherever I'm at. When it's time for me to sell something, you'll know.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm gonna drop this book on their head tops and buy the book when it comes out.
I can't wait.
Yeah.
So I've learned so much from you just in this 25 minutes we've talked. Nice. Thank you so much for coming.
25 minutes?
I think so.
Wow.
I can't wait to read your book. I know it's going to blow people's minds of all the experiences you've had. So. And thanks for coming on my show and talking art and creativity.
This has been like really creative, man.
Yeah, it's so like really creative.
Like really, really creative.
Really, really, really creative.
Really?
Really. Thanks, Javi.
Peace.